You guys understood whatever we did till last class? आप पहली बार आए हो? अच्छा, परसेंटेजेस वाली ठीक है, परसेंटेजेस आपको पता है वैसे, बेसिक्स ऑफ परसेंटेजेस हैव बीन कवर्ड, जो एडवांस सेक्शन है थोड़े वो अभी होने हैं. Let me basically what we covered in last class was what is percentage. Percentage is something out of 100, right? What part of 100 is given quantity? If we have some number and another number which is a part of that quantity, if we reduce that bigger number to a base of 100, then what would be the smaller number reduced to? 100 में से कितना, 100 में से कितना, ठीक है, that is your percentage. Then we try to convert percentages into fractions. So that was just removing percentage sign and division by 100. Then converting fractions into percentages, exactly reverse process, multiplication by 100 and adding percentage sign. What else we covered? Yes, that is simple. You just multiply that number by that percentage. Or if you are given given percentage of given some number as again another given number, then you can assume that number to be n or x or any unknown, and find out the number, because it will be an equation in one equation, one unknown. What else? Then unknown percentage of a given number, or finding out what percent one number is of second number. We assume that number to be of p%. For example, if we have to calculate what percentage is 15 of 36, then we assume 15 is equal to p% of 36, and this is just equation in one unknown. So we will write 15 is equal to p by 100 into 36. So we can solve for p. Okay, है ना? Then increasing by some given percentage. That was the next section, 10th section that we covered. In that section, what we covered was, we had a number and we said that if we increase that number by some percentage, what will be the new number? So the new number would be nothing but old number plus that p% of old number. We are increasing number by some specific given percentage. So the new number would be old number plus some percentage of that number, and we can take n as common and we write it as 1 plus p%. For example, if we want to increase some number by 10%, then that number becomes n into 1 plus 10%. 10% is nothing but 0.1. 10 by 100, no? 10 by 100 is 1 by 10 or 0.1. That we covered. Decimals into fractions, fractions into percentages, decimals into percentages, all those things. So 1 plus 0.1, the number becomes 1.1 times n. If this, instead of 10%, if we have increased by 15%, then number becomes 1.15 times n. If we have increased by 25%, number will become 1.25 times n. If we have increased by what, 65%, then we have 1.65 times n, and so on. Number will increase by that fraction. Similarly, if you want to decrease the number, by certain given percentage, the new number becomes old number minus p% of old number, decrease by that percent. Again, we can take n as common and write it as 1 minus p%. So if you want to decrease some given number by say 10%, then new number would be old minus 10%. 10% is 0.1, so it will be 0.9 times n. If you want to decrease the number by 15%, it would be 0.85 times n. 1 minus 0.15, है ना? If you want to decrease by 65%, it will be 0.35 times n. if you want to decrease by 50%, it will be half of n. Decrease by 95%, 0.05 टाइम. पैटर्न समझ में आ रहा है? This is what we covered in last lecture in elaborate way. Was just a recap. Now what we want to do is net change. So this is the section from which frequently questions get asked. What they do what they do, firstly they change the number by some percentage. Change meaning increase or decrease. So you get a new number, and that new number is again changed, increase or decreased, so you get another number, right? And from first number which we started with, they asked what is the percentage change, net percentage change after these subsequent operations. That is this section. नया वाला क्या करना है इस सेक्शन में वो मैं बता रहा था कि in the previous section we were just having one change, that we either increase the number or decrease the number. Now in the new section we have one number, starting number, which could be anything, which you can assume anything. We assume 100 because we want to calculate net change. Why? We'll discuss it again. So this initial number n, we firstly change it, increase it or decrease it. So the number changes, it becomes, let us say n1, after increase or decrease by certain given percentage, let us say p1%, and this number is again changed by some given percent, so you will get some number n2. We are asked what is the percentage, net percentage change from n to n2. ठीक है? So if we have increase in both the cases, for example, if we increase the number by p1% first, so this n1 would be n into 1 plus p1%, right, from previous section, है ना? And this n2 would be n1 into 1 plus p2%. This is again increase, and I can put value of n1 as this, which is n into 1 plus p1%, 1 plus p2%. This would be the value of n2. If it is p1% increase, what would be n1? ये वाला. And if this is increase of p2%, this would be n1 into 1 plus p2%. So I am just now putting instead of n1 this value. ठीक है? There, the number after step 2 is this. This is 1 plus. I have taken x% y% instead of p1 p2. This is 1 plus x%. This is 1 plus y%. Thus the change is new number minus old number. This is this. Again I can take n common. 1 plus x%, 1 plus y% minus 1. I have taken n as common from both the numbers, subtraction. This becomes n into x% plus y% minus plus x% y%. Expand किया, 1 gets cancelled. Multiplication आता है ना आपको? This is 1 plus x% plus y% plus x% y% minus 1. This 1 gets cancelled and you get this value. This is the net change. So what would be percentage change? Absolute change by initial number into 100. So we have this formula. The purpose of all these things is to come to this formula. If some of you feel that I should remember the formulas and go by that way, that formula remember करके जाओ और वहां पे जाके बस solve करो, तो ये formula आपके convenience के लिए. Those of you who do not want to cram up the formulas, you can leave this section and we'll see how to solve the question directly. If you want to remember the formulas, I have provided you with the formula and how it comes. You can remember, no problem. Formula is easy enough to remember. You may want to remember, you can remember. But it is equally fine if you don't want to remember, because questions can get solved even without the formulas very easily. Okay. Now we'll see how to solve the questions. One way is of course to put everything in this formula. Okay. Another way is do this formula comes about after 2-3 steps. Those steps we do manually, and just there are 2-3 steps. It is not difficult. Once we do questions, you'll understand. See, if a number is increased by 12% and then decreased by 18%, find the net change in percentage. Fine. We start with a number, we then increase that number by 12%, we get another number, and that new number is then decreased by 18% to get a third number. So from first number to third number, what is the net change in percentage? Now we can assume some number n and then repeat this process, or because this n was anyway any number, we can start with 100. We can start with 100, and whatever the third number comes, because we have started with 100, absolute change between first and third number becomes the percentage change. Because what is percentage? What is the change on base of 100? Because we have started with 100, net absolute change is the percentage change. We don't need to calculate this last percentage change, that absolute change divided by initial number into 100. ये करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती, because we start with 100. If you put n as 100, 100 gets cancelled, and absolute change is the percentage change. That is why we start with 100. We start with 100. 12% increase. We increase 100 by 12%. We get to 112. 12% of 100 is 12. So this is plus 12%. Then we decrease this number by 18%. If we decrease some number by 18%, what will be the new number from last section? Number into 1 minus 18%, right? Right or not? Which is equal to 0.82 into 112. Now we have to perform this multiplication. We will come to some number, and 100 से जो भी difference होगा 100 और उस number के बीच में, that would be the net change in percent. Again here calculations are slightly difficult, but in actual examination you will see CSE questions, very easy calculations they ask. They don't want to trouble you guys. So you will just calculate this. Calculate कर लो, कर सकते हो? हाँ? About 8% or exactly 8%? बता दो फिर exact. कैलकुलेटर पे बता दो if you want. मैं कर लूँ कैलकुलेटर. This is 91.84. So percentage change is 100 minus 91.84, which is 8.60%. Now if the options are in the option, if there is only 8.16%, you will mark that. But if there is also minus 8.16%, then you will mark minus, because this is reducing. ठीक है? उतना ध्यान रखना कि sign. If signed value is also there, then you have to take the signed value. If not, absolute value is going to be answer. ठीक है, समझ गए? You don't need formulas, or you can get answer by formulas also. You can put x is equal to 12 and y is equal to minus 18. Not 18, minus 18. You have to take signed values and you will get the answer. Signed answer you will get from there. ठीक है? You can remember the formula. Put x is equal to 12, y is equal to minus 18, and you will also get the answer. No problem. But you can also do this if you don't want to remember the formula. That is also fine. fair, समझ गए? In earlier section there was one change, here there are two changes in two steps. There are some, in some cases, three changes, that is all. And if there are three changes, those changes will be very, very easy. Let us see next question. If salary of Virat is increased by 10% and then again by 20%, find the net increase in salary. Now calculation would be very easy. हाँ आ गया? Right? Yes, you have to, in the percentage formula, we have to take signed values, Ashwini. So in this question, this will be both the plus, because there is firstly increase by 10%, then by 20%, but here there is decrease by 18%, that has to be taken as minus sign in the formula. We start by 100, again Virat's salary, let us say, was 100, it is 10, with 10% increase, it becomes 110, and there is again 20% increase. That 20% increase is on the base of 110. So increase would be 20% of 100. So 110, sorry. So it will be 1.2 into 110, or 20% of 100, 110 you can calculate, because 20% is 1/5. 20 is 1/5 of 100, no? 20% is 1/5. 1/5 of 110, if you remember the tables, 22 5s are 110. So this becomes 132. What is the net change? From 100 you go to 132, so 32% change. ठीक है? Try the third question. ये समझ गए ना? ओके, हो गया? गलती से सही आएगा उसका. Answer would be correct, but that is coincidence, because we have area of rectangle which is length into breadth. So there is symmetry in the question, plus multiplication, both the quantities have only first degree. That is why your answer will be same. But if instead of rectangle I have circle, then your answer would of course be wrong. Multiplication and all the quantities need to have only one, na? Length raised to 1, breadth raised to 1 hai na? But if I have circle, so if radius square is there, so change in radius, percentage change in radius will not be percentage change in radius square, that would be different. अब बहुत दिनों बाद आए हो ना क्लास अब, और आप तो पहली बार आए हो, वो पहले आते थे फर्स्ट फ्यू क्लास. क्या हुआ, क्यों नहीं आए थे? हाँ, अच्छा, पीएम की तो हो गया. So now you will have classes for entire day, ना? तो मतलब ऑनलाइन देख रहे थे ना, पर रिकॉर्डेड क्लासेस यू वर वाचिंग ना. If you have any doubts, you can ask. हो गया? What is the answer? आ गया, आ गया खरीदा नहीं, आ रहा, आ गया नहीं, ओके. See, we know that area of rectangle is length into breadth, fine, and we have what we have started to do is we start with quantity as 100, and so that net absolute change becomes percentage change. So let us say that area was 100 initially. So let us assume length and breadth such that area was 100. 10 and 10 seems fine because square is a rectangle. Every square is a rectangle. I can assume sides 10 and 10, and it still is a rectangle, no problem. 10, 10, fine. Area is, initial area is 100. Now length is increased by 30%. 30% increase in 10. The new length would be 10 into 1.3, right? 1 plus x percent, 1 plus 30%, so is equal to 1 plus 30%. 30% is nothing but 0.3. 1 plus 0.3, 1 point, है ना? 1.3 into 10 is 13, and this breadth is decreased by 20%. So which is 10 into 1 minus 20% is equal to 10 into 0.8 equal to 8. Are you guys fine with this? 1.3 into 10, 0.8 into 10. Otherwise I'll explain once again. कुछ ही फिर से आएगा, ठीक है? करूँ एक्सप्लेन फिर से? अरे बोल दो यार, कोई बात नहीं, समझना जरूरी है, तुम शर्मा रहे हो. What we are saying is, if we increase a given number by some certain given percentage, so we have certain given number and we increase this number by some percentage. The percentage is of itself. If you go to the bank and they say that 10% interest आपको देंगे, in hypothetical scenario, in hypothetical bank, because no banks give 10%. So 10%, that increase in 10% is based on your principal amount. जितना आप दोगे उस पे 10% देंगे ना. So this is the amount you will get after 1 year. So this is the new number. If you increase given number by 10%, this is the new number. I can take n as common because this addition, both the quantities have n. I can write it as this n into 1 plus 10%. Now 10%, if I convert into decimals, this percentage is nothing but 100, 1 by 100. So this is 0.1. So number I get is n into 1.1 is equal to 1.1. This is a number we get after 10% increase. Instead of 10%, if we have 15% increase, 15% increase, then number becomes n plus 15% of n, which is equal to n into 1 plus 15% of n into 1 plus, this is 15% is 0.15 because it is 15 by 100, 1.15 times n. If we have increase of 65%, then we'll have 1.65 times n, new number. If we have increase of 70%, then we'll have 1.7 times n. If we have increase of 5%, we'll have new number as 1.05 times n, and so on. है ना? Number could be anything. So in our case, number was 10 because length we had assumed as 10. So after 30% increase, number would be 1.3 times that number, 10. Similar story is for decreasing, n minus 10% of n. If a particular number we decrease by 10%, then this would be the new number, resulting number, which is equal to n into 1 minus 10% of n into 1 minus 10%, and 10% is 0.1. So this is 0.9 times, and if we decrease by 15%, it would be n into 1 minus 15%, which is n into 1 minus 0.15, 0.85, and this is the new number after 15% decrease. Now you can guess what will happen if we decrease by 20%. It will be 0.8 times n. If we decrease by 30%, it will be 0.7 times n. If we decrease by 35%, it will be 0.65 times n. If we decrease by 95%, number will be 0.05 times n, and so on. Okay? The same thing we are applying in the net change also. We were doing the same thing. Firstly one change, and after the new number, second change on that change on the new number. So the length becomes 13 and breadth will become 8. What will the new area? 13 into 8, which is 13 8s are 104. So from 100 to 104, what is the net change? 4%. चलेगा ना, कोई problem नहीं. 100 and 100 if you take sides, but the calculations would be bigger because area we are calculating. So 100 into 100 becomes 10,000. Right. Right. So that would be 104. 1040 नहीं आएगा, 0400 आएगा. So now what we have to do? What is the percentage change? Percentage change would be then पहले absolute change, which is 400 divided by original number into 100. This is your percentage change. Absolutely fine, no problem. But ये multiplication थोड़ा बड़ा हो जाता है, इसलिए 10 से किया. 39.8 आया ना, 39.8 आया, पॉइंट कहाँ आया? ठीक है, if you feel this is comfortable, then absolutely fine. But then you have to add this step as absolute change divided by initial number into 100. This is how you calculate percentage change. Answer will be same. कोई problem नहीं. Now if I add one more question, if I have a circle and I increase the radius by 10%, what would be the change in area? If I have a circle of radius 10 and I increase the radius by 10%, what would be the percentage change in area? Area. So what would be the percentage change? Find na. Question hai. Radius of a circle is increased by 10%. What is percentage change in area? सही. नहीं हो गया क्या? क्या आ रहा है बताओ. Are you guys through with your worksheets? Worksheets हो गए आपके? हाँ, अभी वाले मतलब कौन? हाँ, मिला ही नहीं है या मैंने भेज दिया था उनको? दिलवा दूंगा। कैलेंडर प्लस ब्लड रिलेशंस प्लस परसेंटेज। हाँ, ब्लड रिलेशन विल बी द नेक्स्ट चैप्टर। हो गया? क्या आ रहा है? 21%। वेयर डिड यू बिगिन विथ? 10 ले लिया। ओके, सो इनिशियल रेडियस लेट इट बी 10, so initial area would be pi into 10 square which is 100 pi, है ना? If we increase the radius by 10%, so radius becomes 1.1 into 10 which is 11, so the area becomes r square into pi. 121 pi. From 100 pi it becomes 121 pi. Absolute change is 21 pi. Initial 100 pi. This is the percentage change. Pi pi cancel, 100 cancel. Answer would be 21%. Right? So वो 4% was a fluke. Jayesh, your last answer of 4% was a fluke. In this such kind of questions, it would be wrong. And this is extendable to other things as well. We have studied in geometry. For example, volume of cylinder. So it would be pi r square h. You can be asked to calculate net change in that volume of cylinder. हाँ, ये वाला. हमने assume किया initial radius is 10. What would be the initial area? 10 into 10 into pi. Pi r square. 100 pi. So we increase this radius by 10%. So it becomes 1.1 into 10. So 11. Now what is the area? 121 pi. So from 100 pi it becomes 121 pi. So net change is 121 pi minus 100 pi. 21 pi divided by initial area into 100. 21. If I ask another question, if side of a cube is increased by 10%, what would be the net change in area? Side of a cube is changed by 10%, increased by 10%. If side of a cube is increased by 10%, what would be the net change in volume? Volume of a cube is? वो सही बोल रहे हैं, तुम उस पर डाउट कर रहे हो. करो तो कुछ तो करो कैलकुलेशंस. जो रेडियस जो सर्कल के लिए कहता है वही करना है. फॉर्मूला ऑफ वॉल्यूम ऑफ क्यूब वो भूल गए? हाँ, हमने पढ़ा है ज्योमेट्री. वॉल्यूम ऑफ क्यूब इज साइड क्यूब. ये कैसे बोल रहे हो यार? कोई टफ शेप भी नहीं पूछ रहा हूं मैं, तो क्यूब पूछ रहा हूं. हाँ, 33.1 ना. अब कुछ हो रहा है. वॉल्यूम ऑफ क्यूब इज ए क्यूब और साइड क्यूब. साइड यू कैन अज्यूम एज 10. तो इनिशियल वॉल्यूम इज 1000, 10 cube. It is increased by 10%. So 10 becomes 11. And 11 cube is 1331. मैंने बोला था 15 तक रट के रखो। तो न्यू वॉल्यूम 1331, ओल्ड वॉल्यूम 1000. What is the change in volume? 331 divided by initial into 100 is your percentage change. This minus this, net change, absolute change. Increase कितना हुआ? हाँ. What is the percentage change? This is the absolute change 331. Absolute change divided by initial value into 100 is the percentage change. So this is extendable for other formulas as well, other volumes, areas. Can be asked surface area of a sphere, which is surface area of a sphere is बहुत ज्यादा टाइम नहीं हुआ है, ठीक है, वो तो वॉल्यूम हो गया ना, क्यूब है वो, so it is meter cube, r is in meters, so that would be in volume terms. I am asking surface area, but volume formula is correct. Partial marking. 4 pi r square नहीं याद, 4 pi r square स्फीयर का सरफेस एरिया. हाँ, निकालना नहीं है, मैं मतलब दिस थिंग इज एक्सटेंडेबल टू अदर थिंग्स एज वेल, दैट इज व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. ठीक है, शुड वी गो बैक टू CSE 2022? वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन, देख लो हो रहा है क्या. ये तो आराम से हो जाएगा मुझे लग रहा है. कैलकुलेशंस आर आल्सो नॉट चैलेंजिंग. पहले फर्स्ट 2 के लिए निकालना पड़ेगा, फिर बाद में जो भी नेट आएगा उसका और फाइनल का निकालना पड़ेगा. तो सी यूपीएससी आल्सो डज नॉट वांट यू टू यूज द फॉर्मूला. उन्होंने जानबूझ के 3 वैल्यू दिया ना. जरूरत भी नहीं है, दिस इज अगेन सिंगल स्टेप आंसर इफ यू नो व्हाट टू डू. In this CSE 2022, not an old question, very easy. Yes, 23 में भी यार करे तो हमने. Questions are easy, they are from different topics. Focus is much more on arithmetic. अब addition multiplication के question में को difficult तो नहीं बोल सकते. Some of them are lengthy, but most of them are easy enough to do. ठीक है, हो गया. 10%. निरंजन 10%. नेक्स्ट क्या कहाँ से स्टार्ट किया? 100 से किया, 1000 से किया. 1100 कैसे आए? 110 आएगा ना. हाँ राजू, हो रहा है, समझ रहा है तुम्हें? कुछ बोल नहीं रहा. You start with 100, price is increased by 25%, so it becomes 125. Then it is decreased by 20%, so it becomes 0.8 into 125. Or you can decrease it by 20% of 125 is 20% is again 1/5. 1/5 of 125 is 25. So this is equal to 100 again. क्या क्या क्या? 25. या तो ये कर लो, या तो इससे इसका 20% सब्ट्रैक्ट कर लो. वही करना वही है ना, कि इससे इसका सब 20% सब्ट्रैक्ट करना है. हाँ हाँ, उस नंबर का ही तो करना है। 0.8 ऑफ व्हाट, 80% ऑफ व्हाट, ये करना है ना। वन न्यू नंबर इज ओल्ड नंबर माइनस 20% ऑफ ओल्ड नंबर, ये करना है। एन तो हमेशा रहता था, दैट एन इज दिस ओल्ड नंबर, ओरिजिनल नंबर। So this is 125 minus 20% of 125 is 25, which is 100. Or you can do 0.8 into 125, वो भी 100 ही आएगा, because 125 into 8 is 1000 and one decimal point is there. So you come to 100 and then again increase by 10%. So 110, 10% increase on 100. What is the net change from 100 to 110? 10% increase. Simple. ठीक है, समझ गए सब लोग। 21 का क्वेश्चन करें, CSE 2021 का। हरिता, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन करें। अगेन अ वेरी इजी क्वेश्चन ऑन द सेम लाइंस, थोड़े नंबर चेंज किए, बाकी कुछ चेंज नहीं है। एंड हियर यू कैन यूज दैट फॉर्मूला बिकॉज देयर आर ओनली टू चेंजेस। 0। तो कैलकुलेशन भी इजी पूछते हैं यूपीएससी जब भी पूछते। ये सब मत सोचना भाई, मैक्सिमम टाइम 0 ही होता है, इसका यही होना चाहिए। अगर गलत हुआ तो वो दिमाग में रहेगा कि यार सॉल्व भी नहीं किया, ऐसे ही मार दिया फालतू। राजू, हो रहा है CSE 2021 साल, कर लो कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं। इसको -20 लेना। हाँ, माइनस 500 बाय 100 ना, XY बाय 100 है वो, माइनस है ना। -20 इंटू +25 क्या होगा, -500 होगा। फॉर्मूले से, फॉर्मूला है x + y + xy बाय 100। x इज -20, y इज +25, x इंटू वाई इज -500 बाय 100। So this is -5, 25 -20 -5 is 0. कैलकुलेशन मिस्टेक इसमें क्या मिस्टेक होनी चाहिए सदा। सबका 0 आ रहा है। We start with 100, decrease by 20%, so 80, and increase of 25%. 25% on 80. 25% is 1/4. 1/4 of 80 is 20. 80 plus 20, 100. Or you can do 1.2 into 80. That will also be 1.25, na? 1.25 into 80. That would also be 100. So net change from 100 to 100 is 0%. ठीक है, समझ गए। Any problem? Do you guys want to just revise for 5 minutes before we start next section? Ensure कर लो कि सब आ रहा है because questions will get asked from that section. Yes, Ashwini, you can use, no problem. Good morning. प्रदीप भाई, और जो कल भेजे थे मैंने, नहीं, और वर्कशीट जो पहले वाले दिए थे ना, वो कैलेंडर्स की एक वर्कशीट है, एक उसकी भी है वर्कशीट की, ये भी है ये भी है। हाँ दोनों देनी है। ठीक है नहीं आ, एक सेकंड, मैं लॉग आउट हो गया जूम से। उनको बुलाओ ना, राजेश भाई। गुड मॉर्निंग। अरे मैं लॉग आउट हो गया। और उनको बोलने के लिए अलाउ भी कर दो। हम्म, नहीं नहीं मेरा ले लो। एट फोर सेवन और उनको बोलने के लिए अलाउ कर दो स्टूडेंट। हाँ बताओ डाउट। हाँ नो नो नो, पाई विल गेट कैंसल्ड अल्टीमेटली, पाई विल गेट कैंसल्ड। फॉर एग्जांपल सर्कल का देख रहे थे ना हम लोग, वी अज्यूम्ड रेडियस टू बी 10, so what is the area? So 100 pi, 100 into pi, pi I kept as pi. I know it will get cancelled, I don't need to put value, and I increase the radius by 10%, the new radius will be, no I am assuming 10 na, it becomes 11, so area would be pi into 11 square, 11 square is 121, so this is 121 pi, pi into r square na. What is the net change, new minus old, so 21 pi divided by old, 100 pi into 100, that is the net change. Pi will get cancelled, 100 gets cancelled, so I get 21%. Yes, for cube pi doesn't come na, it is just side cube. Wherever pi comes it will get cancelled in this final step, because you do net change minus divided by initial value na, in initial value also there will be pi, in net change also there will be pi. कर दिया sir? Ashwini, you can unmute yourself, no problem. हाँ 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 can speak. हम्म 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 right. Yes, yes, no problem. The next section is about keeping the expenditure fixed. So what we want to do here is, let us say you go to a shop, you have certain fixed money, and you know the rate of some item, and accordingly you will buy some quantity of that item, जितना भी उतने पैसे में आएगा. But now what happens due to, let us say, inflation, the rate will increase, but amount you have with you will not increase. Then you have to buy less quantity to ensure that expenditure is same. If you go to buy a petrol, for let us say 5 years back, you got petrol and 10 liters petrol in 500 rupees. Let us imagine imaginary quantity. But now if you go and go to a petrol pump in 500 rupees, since the rate has increased from 50 to 100, now you can buy only 5 liters. So accordingly, to keep the expenditure fixed, if the rate increases, rate of petrol increases, you have to reduce the consumption, and if the rate decreases, you have to increase the consumption. That is what we want to do in this section. By what percentage we need to change the consumption if the rate increases by some given R%. That is what we want to do. By year end, it is said that petrol prices are going to be reduced by 8-10 rupees. Because election year, hai na? So you can buy more petrol with same amount of money. Expenditure is equal to consumption into rate. This is very logical. पैसा कितना खर्च होगा, जितने की भी चीज होगी उतना into number of things you buy. To keep the expenditure fixed, if the rate increases, consumption will fall, and if the rate decreases, consumption will increase, so that the product of two things remains the same, which is expenditure, the money you spend. Now here we assume that rate is changed by R%, so new rate would be old rate into 1 plus R%. This is 1 plus R%, and consumption, let's say we need to change by P%. So new consumption is old consumption into 1 plus P%. That P could be negative, so we can have increase or decrease. And since expenditure is same, old rate into old consumption is equal to new rate into new consumption. You get old rate into old consumption is equal to, you put values, old rate, old consumption will get cancelled, and only unknown here is P if R is known. This is again derivation of formula. Those of you who want to remember, you can remember, but we can do the question very well by using only this thing. Old rate into old consumption is equal to new rate into new consumption. And this is extendable for all other things which are multiplications of two things. This is just consumption, expenditure is equal to consumption into rate. So this is multiplication of two quantities. So is area of rectangle length into breadth. So if you increase length by some percent, question is by what percent we need to reduce the breadth so that area becomes same, remains same. Same thing, multiplication of two things, one thing increases, other has to decrease, so that multiplication remains same. Distance is equal to speed into time. If you have to travel between two cities meaning distance is constant between those two cities. So if you increase speed, you'll reach there in less time. If you decrease speed, you'll reach there in more time. So by what percent you need to increase speed to reach let us say some 1 hour less, in 1 hour less time, or 5% less time. Those kind of questions can also be tackled using whatever we are going to do in this section. Let us see how we can do the questions. Formula I have given, but without formula, from the basic knowledge, let us see how we can do. Question is, if the price of watch is increased by 10%, by how much percentage must a shopkeeper reduce his consumption to have no extra expenditure? There is a shopkeeper, the watch shopkeeper, he buys some watches and then probably sells it. The price of watch is increased by 10%, price at which he gets. So by what, how much percentage must he reduce his consumption so that to have no extra expenditure? What you can do is assume that initial price is P of watch, initial consumption is C, or you can assume 100 P, 100 C, no problem, anything is fine. If we assume as P and C, what do we have? Initial consumption is P into C, initial price into initial consumption, and what could is equal to new, because we want to make the keep the expenditure same. New price of watch is 10% increase, 1.1 times P, right? And let us say new consumption is some X% reduction into new consumption, which is 1 minus X% into old consumption. If you reduce consumption by X%, reduce ही करना पड़ेगा ना. If the rate is increasing, consumption has to be reduced. Let us say it has to be reduced by X%. So this will be the new consumption. Only unknown here is P. Once P and C get cancelled, ठीक है. What do we have? 1.1 you can take the on LHS in division. So we have 1 by 1.1 is equal to 1 minus X%. So 10 by 11 is equal to 1 minus X%. X% is equal to 1 minus 10 by 11 is equal to 1 by 11. है ना? And X% is nothing but X by 100. X is equal to 100 by 11. Just all you need to do is divide to find the answer. हाँ 10% नहीं आएगा ना. This is 9.09%. कुछ तो गलती कर दी. तो जो एग्जैक्ट आंसर में होगा वही वही आपको बोलना पड़ेगा. मेथड यही यूज किया या कुछ और किया? ऊपर वाले फॉर्मूला में. अच्छा फॉर्मूला में ठीक है. फॉर्मूला से भी आंसर वही आएगा. बस फॉर्मूला मतलब जो फॉर्मूला में किया है वही मेथड हमने फॉलो किया है विदाउट रिमेंबरिंग देम. फॉर्मूला से. Let me just repeat this first for him, then let us see if we can get the same answer using formula. We are assuming initial rate as some P, price of watch, and initial consumption of shopkeeper as C. So initial expenditure is price into consumption, P into C. Now we are increasing price of watch by 10%. So this is the new price, 1.1 into P, 10% increase, 1.1 होगा, and therefore consumption will of course will be reduced. Price increase होगा तो consumption reduce करना पड़ेगा उसको. So let us say it reduces by X%. So the new consumption becomes 1 minus X% into C. Old consumption into 1 minus X%. P and C can be cancelled because these are non-zero quantities. We have 1 is equal to 1.1 into 1 minus X%. This is just one equation, one unknown. 1.1 here it is in the multiplication. I can take on left hand side as a division. We have 1 by 1.1 is equal to 1 minus X%. 1 by 1.1 is 10 by 11 is equal to same thing. Next percent is 1 minus 10 by 11. Simplify कर रहा हूँ बस. This is 1 minus 10 by 11, so 9 by 1 by 11. And X% is X by 100. X is equal to, sir, therefore 100 by 11. And by formula, formula ये है percentage change in consumption is equal to percentage change in rate, which is 10 divided by 100 plus percentage change in rate, which is 10 into 100, which is 1000 divided by 110 or 100 by 11. वही आएगा 100 by 11. You can divide now. This is 9.0909 and so on. That much percent. You can remember the formulas, but again too many formulas just confuse you. You don't, फिर तुम्हें पता करना पड़ेगा कि कौन से क्वेश्चन में कौन सा फॉर्मूला जाना. That also you have to remember. वो तो मिट गया, फिर से करते हैं. Or if you don't want to work with P and C, we can assume that initial consumption was 100, initial rate was 100. So this was initial expenditure. Now rate has been increased by 110%. So 110 it becomes. Now all we want to find out is new consumption. And because we have started from 100, absolute change would be percentage change. So if we have 100 into 100 divided by 110 is equal to C. 1000 by 11 is C. If you divide, you will get C. Can you divide? 1000 by 11 is equal to 999, 90.90, right? सही है ना? So what is the change from 100 to 90.90? That is the answer. So I think you should start with 100. That is, this is easier ना? ये easier है. अच्छा, कैलकुलेशन है, ठीक. दिस सीम्स इजियर देन अज्यूमिंग पी एंड सी. तो आपको अगर इससे स्टिक करना है तो इससे स्टिक कीजिए, बट प्रैक्टिस कीजिए, ठीक है ना. चूज एनी वन मेथड, एनी वन ऑफ द थ्री, इधर पी एंड पी इंटू सी वाला और दिस वन और फॉर्मूला वाला, एंड प्रैक्टिस, तभी वो याद रहेगा. अदरवाइज क्यूब का वॉल्यूम भी भूल जाओगे. ठीक है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, ट्राई. हम्म हम्म Ashwini, there is more to the question than where you are at. Read the complete question. There are two steps involved. Firstly, we have to find out what is the net increase in the price, and then you can use this section to find out what is the reduction in expenditure after the net change in price. पहले प्राइस चेंज हो रही है दो स्टेप में, and then according to the price change, the net price change, consumption will change. अच्छा, we have, firstly, let us find the net change in price. So assume price was 100, it got reduced by 5%, it becomes 95, and then it increased by 20%. 20% of 95 is increased. Okay. So 114. So what is the net change? Price change is 14%. Now again, this was step number 1. Step number 2, we assume that initial rate was 100, initial consumption was 100, new rate becomes 114, we want to find out new consumption. हाँ, सही किया था? क्यों क्यों? वो पता है ना कितनी गलतियां करता है, उसके झांसे में मत आओ तुम अपना सही करो. हाँ जयेश, मिसलीड किया तुमने उसे. हाँ, गलती करके. हाँ अच्छा, ये समझ में ये किया था. सो दिस वाज द नेट इंक्रीज इन द प्राइस. तो प्राइस चेंज अब खत्म हुआ है जाके, एंड अकॉर्डिंगली कंजम्पशन विल चेंज. ये समझ गया ना? लेकिन ये, हाँ, वी अज्यूम इनिशियल प्राइस एज 100, इनिशियल कंजम्पशन एज 100, and because expenditure needs to be kept same, so product has to be same in old case as well as new case. In new case price has been increased by 14%, so 100 का 114 होगा. So let new consumption be C, so that will be less than 100 because product has to be 10,000. So you just have to solve for C here. 10,000 by 114, थोड़ा एफर्ट है. अच्छा, थोड़ा एफर्ट है डिवीजन में, बट हाँ, तो ये तो 2 से डिवाइड कर लो, फिर कर लो. हाँ हाँ हाँ, इन एग्जामिनेशन यूपीएससी वोंट गिव यू टफ नंबर्स. हाँ, नेट चेंज से पहले निकालना होगा और फिर करना होगा. हाँ. ठीक है. Yes, comfortable. Majorly questions will come from this section. चलिए आगे. Next section is percentage excess or percentage shortness. We have to tell how much one number is, by how much percent one number is bigger than another, or by how much number one number is less than another. वही करना है. If we have two numbers A and B, so if we have A exceeds B by X percent, then B into 1 plus X percent will be A. And at the same time, if B is short of A by Y percent, so Y is negative here, it is shortness, so it is already in negative, so then B is 1 into A into 1 minus Y percent, 1 plus Y percent, because Y itself is a negative. Shortness बोला है ना मैंने already. If we are given that A exceeds पता है, increase मतलब more होना, A exceeds B by X percent. What do we mean is this A is equal to B into 1 plus X percent. That is, if we increase B by X percent, then we reach A. ठीक है? This is what we mean. And if B is, क्या बोला था यहाँ पे? B is short of A. B is short of A by Y percent. Then what do we have? A into 1 minus Y percent is equal to B. At one place, base is B. A exceeds B by some percentage, so that percentage is of B. And if B is short of A by some percent, then that percentage is of A. नहीं, A exceeds B by X percent. A is bigger, B is smaller. We have to increase B to reach A, and we are given the percentage difference is X percent. B, the smaller number, into some X percent of B is equal to a new number is equal to old plus X percent of old. Here base is B. But if B is short of A, B is not known, A is known, and we are known, वो जो है ना वो मेरे से छोटा है by Y percent. So A minus Y percent of A is equal to B. Terminologies का difference है. So if you put these values together, A will get cancelled because putting the value of B from this thing, you get this 100 by 100 plus X goes into denominator, X goes into numerator, A gets cancelled, percentage shortness and percentage values of X and Y can be found out if one of them is given. If X is given, Y can be found out. If Y is given, X can be found out. These are the formulas for those of you who want to remember them. For others, we will see how we can solve directly without using the formulas. ठीक है, ये derivation of formulas है, कैसे आता है वो formula. But if you want to directly remember the formulas, that is absolutely fine by me. If you want to, if you don't want to remember either of the two things, that is also fine. But final question solve होना चाहिए by whichever way. देखिए questions, ये formulas है, अगर किसी को formulas याद रखने हैं तो रख सकते हैं, otherwise follow me. Let us see how we can do this. First question, if income of Amar is 20% more than Samar, by what percentage is Samar's income less than that of Amar? इसमें क्या हंसने वाली बात थी यार, दो अमर और समर से हंस लिए. फिर See, there is one person Amar, there is one person Samar. We are given Amar, income of Amar is 20% more than that of Samar. So what we can do is, we can assume Samar's income as 100, Amar's income would be 120, right? Now we want to find out by what percentage is Samar's income less than that of Amar. Now we have to change the base to 120. That is what we have to do. अगर हमने अमर और समर में से समर का भी इनकम पकड़ा तो अमर का इनकम 20% ज्यादा है, 20% ज्यादा है कंपेयर टू समर. तो समर्स इनकम का 20%, 100 का 20%. बट नाउ व्हेन वी गो इनटू द अमर्स पोजीशन, वी आर सीइंग मेरा 120 है, माय इनकम इज 120, समर्स इनकम इज 100. So by what percentage his income is less than mine? So now base is 120, right? Now we want to find out how much he is less than me, how much short he is compared to me. Now we know, we can assume, let he be y% short, right? He is y% short. So what do we know? 120 into 1 minus y% equal to 100. In other words, we can also find out what is the absolute change, 20. This is the answer. ये भी चलेगा. Absolute change, which is 20 divided by original value. Now we want to change original value to Amar's income into 100 is the percentage change. You can either solve for y from here or here, the value will be same. This is equal to y. Rather, this comes by simplifying that. 100 by 120, 1 minus 100 by 120 is 20 by 120 into 100. वही यही से ये आता है. If you simplify this equation, you get this. Either of the things is fine. The thing is, we want to change the base. Firstly, we were comparing from the perspective of Samar, that he is 20% more. Now we want to compare from perspective of Amar, that he is how much less compared to my income. Base change करना, 100 से अब 120 तक लाना है base. Net not, यहाँ पे net तो है ही नहीं, एक ही change है, absolute change. No. He is 20% more than me. If my income is 100, his income is 120. But if my income is 120 and his income is 100, so he is 20 less than me in absolute terms. But the percentage terms, 20 by my base, which is 120 into 100. So 20 by 120 is, this is not 20, no? You can find out this is how much, 1 by 6. So 16% something, 16.66%. ठीक है? Do you understand why the answer is different? वो मुझसे 20% ज्यादा है तो मैं उससे 16% कम हो सकता है, कोई वो प्रॉब्लम नहीं है राजू. Because we are changing the base, we are changing the point of view from which we are calculating the thing. ठीक है यश? You can use the formula or you can do like this. अजिंक्य, सबको समझ आ रहा है? पक्का? पक्का? हरिता, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन. हम्म 25, राइट. हम्म 20 आ रहा है, 20 कैसे है, 20 तो ये दिया है ना। बट बेस हैज बीन चेंज नाउ। हाँ, starting you start with 100. There are two people, A and B. A is 20% less than B, so we assume B as 100. A would be 80. Actual change 20. How much percentage is B more than A now? Now we have to change base to A's perspective. A 80. So absolute change divided by 80 into, वही बेस चेंज करना है बस, पहले बेस 100 था, अब बेस 80 करना। समझ रहा है सबको? पक्का? विवास आपको कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं? आपको, इनको, आपका नाम भूल गया, प्रशंसा, एनी प्रॉब्लम? हो गया पक्का? सरिता पक्का? अब तो ठीक है, ठीक है। राजू, should we move to next section? Next is increasing population of a city at constant rate. If there is a city whose population is increasing at some constant percentage, constant rate R every year, we are asked to find the population after certain number of years. This calculation is very similar to compound interest, that every year, the first year if you go and to the bank and give them 1000 rupees at 10% interest, next year you will get 100 rupees interest and 1100 rupees. Now year after that you will get 10% interest on that 1100, not on your basic 1000. That is called compounding. तो आपका principal amount ही बढ़ता जाता है. The new interest is also given on interest you earned in the previous year. That is compounding. तो सिटी का पॉपुलेशन वैसे ही होगा. If population of the city is, let us say 1 lakh in first year, next year 10% increase, it becomes 1,10,000. Again 10% increase, so that increase would be on 1,10,000, not on 1 lakh, क्योंकि जो नए 1000 है वो भी तो बेस में आएंगे, अब सिटी का मेंबर्स बन गए हो. This is the compound interest formula. The city का population formula is same, because वही तो कर रहे हैं. The thing we are doing is very similar, that population after n years is initial population x into 1 plus whatever rate of increase r by 100, so that is r percent raised to n. So if r is 10, this is 0.1, 10 by 100, so then population is x into 1.1 raised to a number of years after which you are calculating, finding out. ठीक है? And there is one variation of the question, that if we are given population today and we have to calculate population sometime in the past, then what we do, we assume that population in the past was x, put that in this formula. We go to the past, let us say 5 years ago, we assume that 5 years ago population was x, so we find out, we say x into 1 plus whatever rate of increase that would be given by 100 raised to 5 is equal to given value, today's population, which is known. So the only unknown in this equation would be population 5 years ago. ठीक है? So you can go in the past or in the future as well. If so population after n years, if we assume that if population n years ago is p, then population after n years is p into 1 plus r by 100 raised to n is equal to x, which is given. So p is equal to x divided by 1 plus r by 100 raised to n. ठीक है? इस पे क्वेश्चन कर लो चाहिए तो। लेट अस से population today is, population of Delhi today is 1 CR people और 10 million, जो भी आपको इजी लगता है आप ले लेना यूनिट, and it increases at the constant rate of, let us say 5%, then what would be the population in 2025? today let us say 2023 दिसंबर है, तो 2025 दिसंबर सेम डेट पे क्या पॉपुलेशन होगा? Population of Delhi today is 1 crore. It increases at constant rate of 5%. Find out the population in December 2025. Now that is 2 years after today. And also in 2021. The two question है, find out the population of Delhi in 2021 as well as in 2025. If you want to have simpler calculation, let us make it 10%. थोड़े easy हो जाएंगे calculation. At 5% or 10%? अच्छा अच्छा कौन सा है वो? हाँ अच्छा, बाहर रख दो, कल के लिए चाहिए रहेगा, आज तो नहीं होगा। 1 करोड़ क्या था, क्या आया था पहले वाला? हाँ वो पहले वाले का ना, ये 10% का क्या आ रहा है? दिस इज इजियर कैलकुलेशन। हाँ तो पॉपुलेशन आफ्टर 2 years वुड बी 1 CR इंटू 1 प्लस 10% स्क्वायर इक्वल टू 1 CR इंटू 1.1 स्क्वायर इक्वल टू 1.21 CR। ठीक है, 2 years एगो, हाँ 81 lakh। We assume 2 years ago population was X. We have that population into 1.1 square is equal to 1 CR, right? आज की population ये तो 2025 की हो गई। How about 2021? 2000, 2 साल पीछे जाना है। We assume population 2 years back was X into 1 plus 10% square is equal to आज की population 2 साल बाद की, उस टाइम के 2 साल बाद की, so it is 1 CR which is known. Only unknown is this X is equal to 1 CR divided by 1.21, जो भी होगा ये। जयेश सेम रेट से डिक्रीज नहीं किया, पास्ट से सेम रेट से इंक्रीज किया। बेस वाज इन द पास्ट, उस पे 5% इंक्रीज हुआ, ये 2022 का पॉपुलेशन है, उस पर 5% इंक्रीज होकर 1 करोड़ आया। 1 करोड़ का 5% डिक्रीज होकर सेम नहीं आएगा ना, पर अगेन एक्सेस शॉर्टनेस, एक्सेस वो वाला बेस वाला इशू। नो नो, हाँ ठीक है। So we are given 2023 December का population. Question is, if the rate of increase in the population is constant 5%, so what was the population in 2021? So we assume that in 2021 population was X. So what would be the population 2 years after? This thing, X into 1.1 square. फॉर्मूला में डाल दिया मैंने बस, X is equal to 10%, not 5%, 10% डाल दिया। If we assume 10% increase, हाँ 10% इंक्रीज हो रहा है ना हर साल। So I assume, I don't know what is population in 2021, so I assume it as X. At 10% increase, what would be the population 2 years after? This X into 1.1 square, ये, and that I know as 1 CR 2023 में, that data is given, so only unknown is X, so I can find it. या तो पीछे जाना है तो ऐसे यहां से पीछे नहीं जाना है, पीछे जाके फिर से आगे आना है, बिकॉज द बेस इज इन द पास्ट, कंपाउंडिंग हैज स्टार्टेड हैपनिंग इन द पास्ट। ठीक है, दैट वाज द परसेंटेज चैप्टर विच इज ओवर। हाँ हाँ, नहीं नहीं नहीं, एग्जैक्टली वो दैट्स व्हाट आई वाज टेलिंग हिम ना, घट नहीं रहा है पॉपुलेशन, पास्ट से इंक्रीज होता आ रहा है। The population from 2021 is increasing at constant rate of 5%. Rate of increase is constant of 5%, and increase है वो, and increase में compounding होता है। So when we are decreasing, the base is different. तो परसेंटेज एक्सेस परसेंटेज शॉर्टनेस वाला चीज है ना, वही चीज की मेरे से आप 20% आगे हो तो आपसे मैं 20% पीछे नहीं हूं, आपसे मैं 16% ही पीछे हूं, बिकॉज बेस इज इंक्रीज ना, द बेस इज 120, व्हेन वी कैलकुलेट फ्रॉम बेस 120 to 100, percentage shortness is 16%, not 20%. But if I have base as 100, the percentage excess is 20%. वो 120 पे खड़ा है, मेरे से तो 20% आ गए, उससे मैं 16% कम हूं। So that 5% is given as rate of increase of population, not rate of decrease of population. हाँ, so we have 2021 increasing population 2023. यहां से इंक्रीज हो रहा है ना पॉपुलेशन एट 5% कांस्टेंट रेट, तो यहां पे जो भी पॉपुलेशन होगा आफ्टर 1 year it will be 1.1 times X, and the new population in 2023 after 2 years again 1.1, but that is on this base 1.1x, so this is equal to 1.21 x, and this is known as 1 CR. हाँ, रिवर्स क्यों नहीं जा सकते, क्योंकि बेस वहां पे कम है ना, तो बताए ना, इफ आई हैव 100 rupees टुडे एंड you have 120 rupees, so you have 20% more rupees than me, right? So that rate is given as increase, rate of increase from my perspective is given as 10%, but from your perspective मैं तुमसे 10% कम थोड़ी हूं, मैं या तो 100-120 के केस में मैं तुमसे 20% कम नहीं हूं ना, मैं तुमसे 16% ही कम हूं, दैट रेट इज नॉट नोन टू यू, एटलीस्ट दैट रेट इज नॉट गिवन इन द क्वेश्चन। तो फाइंड करो फिर वो रेट, पहले वो रेट फाइंड करो फिर डालो, इससे अच्छा तो यही कर लो। लेट अज्यूम कि 2 साल पहले पॉपुलेशन एक्स था और वहां से अब इंक्रीज हो रहा है। सी व्हाइल गोइंग इन द रिवर्स द रेट हैज टू बी चेंज बिकॉज बेस इज नाउ मोर, बेस चेंज का इफेक्ट है वो। ठीक है, एनी प्रॉब्लम इन द परसेंटेज चैप्टर? इट इज ओवर। and frequently asked questions. Because you understood arithmetic well, I think you didn't face much difficulty in this chapter. Arithmetic पहले करना ही पड़ता है ना, उसके अलावा तो कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. No topic can be done without it. PY किस करें? Should we try PY? इसमें है, ब्लड रिलेशन वाले में है, वो भी प्रिंट हो चुके हैं. अभी तो आधा घंटा है. अरे आधा घंटा को हम प्रिंशन करेंगे क्या? नहीं नहीं, PY किस करो चुपचाप. ये तो करा हुआ क्वेश्चन है, ये कर लो फटाफट. हाँ, आंसर भी रटा है, अब इतनी बार कर चुके. हाँ, 4 बार तो कर चुका है हम लोग क्लास में. राजीव भाई वो दे दो, बुकलेट से बाहर है ना, उनको देना. हो गया? नहीं, क्लास छोड़ने की बात क्यों हो रही है फिर? अच्छा, मतलब जब घर पे करते थे. अच्छा, रख दो. हाँ, 10 हुआ ना वो. बुकलेट 10, अभी 9 आपको मिल चुका है ना. चल नहीं नहीं, ये नहीं मिला है, ये मिसप्रिंट हो गया. ये 10 ही है, ये बुकलेट नहीं मिला है, बट 9 की जगह 10 होना चाहिए. कोई बात नहीं, इग्नोर इट. आपके दिल बड़े, गलती इग्नोर कर देना. इधर भी लगाना था, ये वाला बुकलेट है नहीं. ये हो गया कि नहीं सॉल्व? हो गया ना? एनीबडी हु इज नॉट एबल टू सॉल्व दिस क्वेश्चन? ये तो 4 बार कर चुके हैं अब. हाँ, नहीं, कोई बात नहीं. लेट अस स्टार्ट विथ total number of, we have to find total number of voters. So let us assume that as n. Next they are saying 80% voters casted their vote. So how many is 80%? 80% is 0.8. These many people casted their votes. And what the question is saying is, there are two people x and y. There is no nota, right? So vote either goes to x or y. And here they say votes 56% votes were given to x. So remaining would be to y, which is 44%. Because there is no nota, there is no third candidate. So 56% उसको, तो बचे हुए y को जाएंगे votes. No problem. And then we are seeing x won by 1440 votes. So meaning difference between votes of x and y would be 1440. उतने वोट से जीता वो, इसका मतलब क्या होता है? इससे ज्यादा उसको उतने मिले, है ना? राइट. So difference between these two quantities is 1440. So 56% of 0.8n minus 44% of 0.8n is equal to 1440. 56% minus 44% is 12%. We can take 0.8n common and we'll have 12% of 0.8n is equal to 1440. Only unknown is n. We can find out n. लगा दो. अरे इधर क्या? Nobody will look at the screen. राजेश भाई का व्हाट्सएप चैट मत पढ़ो. हो गया निरंजन, आ गया आंसर 15,000. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखो. ये कर लो, अभी तो वो चल रहा है. नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, अगेन समथिंग विच वी हैव ऑलरेडी कवर्ड. ज्योमेट्री में किया था ये क्वेश्चन, रिपीटेशन है. हो गया. हो गया. क्या है, ऑलरेडी किया है हमने क्वेश्चन ये भी. एग्री कर रहे हो तुम उसके साथ? दिस इज नॉट समथिंग टू बी प्राउड अबाउट. तो हाँ हाँ मैं भी, हाँ मैं भी. ये क्या, ज्योमेट्री भूल गई तो हाँ मैं भी. पढ़ो फिर से. आ जाओ, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. ये कैसे हो रहा है? एक बार तो पढ़े हुए हो आप लोग. 11 to 1:30 फ्रॉम 8 जनवरी, मंडे टू थर्सडे. जिसको आना है आ जाओ. जो भी जब टॉपिक होगा, आपको जो भी टॉपिक के लिए लग रहा है कि आना चाहिए हमें, आज, मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. हाँ, अरिथमेटिक, अरिथमेटिक के अलावा कुछ हो ही नहीं सकता. कैसे मतलब, अदर एनी अदर टॉपिक वी कांट टच ना, unless we are through with arithmetic. That is the base chapter for all the things. Arithmetic, then वही चलेगा मतलब. उसके बाद क्या किया था हमने, रिलेटिव साइज ऑफ नंबर्स किया था, देन ज्योमेट्री किया था. ज्योमेट्री से पहले कॉम्प्रिहेंशन किया था ना शायद. हम्म, आ जाओ, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं. फिर कॉम्प्रिहेंशन किया था, फिर लीनियर इक्वेशंस किया था, एंड नाउ वी आर. उसके बाद हमने वो किया था, एलआर का एक टॉपिक किया था, कैलेंडर्स किया था, एंड नाउ परसेंटेजेस. आफ्टर दिस ब्लड रिलेशंस, एलआर एंड क्वांट अब थोड़ा बहुत मिक्स करके चलेंगे. आप भी बोर ना हो, एलआर से आपको बहुत मजा आया था. कैलेंडर्स में बहुत खुश थे ना आप. हो गया ये क्वेश्चन. क्या आया? राइट, सिंपल क्वेश्चन. किया हुआ क्वेश्चन प्लस सिंपल. वी हैव अ पाई चार्ट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. सर्कल का सेंट्रल डिग्री इज 360 डिग्री. टोटल एंगल इज 360 डिग्री. दैट इज द फैक्ट वी यूज हियर. We have 5 things: A, B, C, D, E. So whatever proportion, whatever the expenditure, that would be proportional to central angle. That is a fact that we use. And central angles corresponding to B, C, D, E are given. Total central angle is 360 degree. So corresponding to A, we can find out 360 minus sum of all these things, 260. So this comes out as 100 degree. 360 minus all these things. And what is the percentage expenditure of A? That would be expenditure is proportional to central angle. So expenditure is 100 out of 360, and because we want to calculate percentage, multiply by 100. And this is the ratio or the fraction corresponding to A, and how to convert into percentage, multiply by 100 and add percentage sign. Yes, ठीक है, पक्का, प्रशंसा, पक्का, हरिता. Next question. hint for you guys, start with 100, assume that total there are 100 students in that class and see how many are, so that मतलब ultimately percentage ना निकालना पड़े, absolute value should be equal to percentage value. आ गया? Yes, that is correct, Ashwini. आपका अगला टेस्ट कब रखना है? 10th Jan क्या रहा हूँ? कब रखना है? हाँ, वो जिन्होंने दिया वो दी, ठीक है, अब जाने दो, बट जिन्होंने नहीं दिया वो छोड़ सकते हो टेस्ट. नेक्स्ट टेस्ट कब रखना, कब है आपको ये बताओ. No, if you keep it early in Jan, then third test we can keep in this Jan end, somewhere around Jan end or Feb first week, na? No, entire thing whatever we have covered till that time, including arithmetic, everything will be included. अरिथमेटिक के कम पूछने की कोशिश करूंगा, बट देयर विल बी सम क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम अरिथमेटिक, तो उतने आ रहे हैं यार, मतलब अरिथमेटिक तो यू हैव टू बी ऑलवेज रेडी टू डील विद 60 क्वेश्चन इन पास्ट 5 years, so it is a single most important topic. हो गया? Let us assume, हाँ हाँ, that is correct. Let us assume there are 100 students total, 60% are from India, so remaining would be from foreign, है ना? Plus what we are saying is 50% of the students are girls, 50% girls, 50% would be boys. Then we are saying 30% of Indian students. Percentage की जरूरत नहीं ना? We have started with 100. If 30% of Indian students are girls, how many Indian students are there? 60. Out of that 30%. So 30% of 60 is 18. 18 are girls. So remaining are boys. कितने हैं? 42. 42 are boys, right? 42 boys out of this 50 are from India. Total boys are 50. Out of that 42 boys are Indians. So out of these 40 foreigners, only 8 are boys, remaining 32 are girls. Question is, what is the percentage of foreign students? What percentage of foreign students is boys? 8 out of 40 is what percent? 20%. 1/5 है ना? 8 by 40 into 100. that would be percent. ठीक है? फोर्टी में से 20 तो 20%, क्या 20 हटा दिए? 20 कौन सा हटा दिए बताओ? हाँ 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 ठीक है ठीक है। सर वो लिखा था ना कि 30% ऑफ द इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स आर गर्ल्स, 50% टोटल गर्ल्स हैं और 30% इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स गर्ल हैं, तो अगर 60 में से आपको हटा दोगे, अच्छा तो 20, ठीक है, तो 20 गर्ल्स आर फ्रॉम फॉरेन, ऐसा बोल रहे हो? हाँ हाँ वो लैंग्वेज ठीक, जैसा भी आप चाहो, आंसर सही आना चाहिए। मुझे ऐसा क्यों लगने लगा है कि ये तुक्के से तुम्हारा सही है? हाँ हम्म तो 40 फॉरेनर्स में से 8 लड़के, बाकी लड़के, वही आया ना फाइल नहीं, वही आना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट, your CSAT strategy video at 11 a.m. YouTube live. If some of you want to stay back, you can stay back. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि कुछ अलग बोलूंगा मैं, बट ऐसे ही रुकना है तो रुक जाओ, कोई कंपल्शन नहीं है, कुछ अलग तो नहीं बोलूंगा मैं, जो आपको बताता हूँ वही बताऊंगा। हाँ हाँ रही है, हाँ बाद में देखो, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, योर टाइम इज प्रेशियस। अच्छा करते कैलेंडर, क्या डाउट्स है? हाँ हाँ कैलेंडर तो हो गया, पूरा हो गया। 3-4 टाइप के क्वेश्चन होते हैं यार उसमें, तो क्या होता है, वही 3 टाइप के क्वेश्चन है, वही रिपीट होके आएंगे। हाँ एक्स्ट्रा डेज में, एक्स्ट्रा डेज में, या फिर वो कितने दिन बाद कौन सा डे होगा उसमें, उसमें एक्स्ट्रा डे ही तो काउंट करते हैं हम लोग। अच्छा हाँ हाँ, एक बार वर्कशीट ट्राई कर लो, उसमें जो भी, उसमें सारे क्वेश्चंस कवर्ड है सारे टाइप के। नहीं यार निरंजन, नहीं हो रहा। P scored 40 marks more than Q, and if Q scored 10% marks, 10% less marks than P, so this 10% is equivalent to 40. What is 100% marks? That is how P will score. That is how much P will score. Minus 40. That is the score of Q. Or if you want, if you still want, you can write down the equations. First is P minus Q is equal to 40, one equation, and second is this, Q scored 10% less marks than P. So Q is equal to P into 1 minus 10%. Two equations, two unknowns, you can solve. Hmm. Hmm. अरे ये 40 एब्सोल्यूट मार्क्स है, 40% थोड़ी है, 40 मार्क्स है ना, वो परसेंटेज थोड़ी है, मार्क्स मोर, जितने भी आए उससे मोर दे, तो परसेंटेजेस को एब्सोल्यूट से कंफ्यूज मत करो, या तो सीधा सीधा इक्वेशन लिख दो कंफ्यूज हो रहे हो तो। फर्स्ट इक्वेशन P माइनस Q इज 40, सेकंड इक्वेशन Q इज P इंटू 1 माइनस 10%. Two equations, two unknowns, put value of Q from here to that equation, you will get the answer of Q. P की जगह ये लिख दो, या फिर Q की जगह P की ये वैल्यू लिख दो, P आ जाएगा, P से Q आ जाएगा. This is equal to 0.9 P. तो वहां पे डाल दो वैल्यूज. फर्स्ट इक्वेशन में you will get the value of P or Q, and from that we will get the value of other variable. कंफ्यूज हो रहे तो सीधा ये करो. बट ये भी देख सकते हो कि this 10% less marks is equivalent to 40 marks. So 100% marks is 400 marks. So that is marks of P. Marks of Q would be 10% less. So reduce 10%, 360. वो भी ठीक. Okay, should we do comprehensions now? बाकी के कल कर लेंगे. हाँ बोलो बोलो. अच्छा ये वाले का आंसर याद नहीं है मुझे. ये वही वाला परसेंटेज एक्सेस परसेंटेज शॉर्टनेस वाला है. तो आंसर वुड बी 60 by 160 into 100. आज करना है कल करना है? आज ही करना है. फिर बोलते हो कॉम्प्रिहेंशन नहीं होता. सी आज करेंगे तो सबको समझ आना पड़ेगा ना, तो फिर 5 मिनट जाएगा. कल कर लेते हैं. फ्रॉम दिस क्वेश्चन विल स्टार्ट टुमारो. लेट अस डू कॉम्प्रिहेंशन. हो गया? क्या आ रहा है? हो गया कि नहीं? नहीं, क्या आ रहा है? हाँ, अच्छा, हाँ, नहीं नहीं, क्या प्रॉब्लम क्या आ रही है? ओके, अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक है ठीक है. Let us see. As the 21st century advances, a new danger, the cyber threat is becoming a hydra-headed monster. ठीक है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. So, author is saying it is becoming a big threat. It is hardly confined to any one domain, though the military is the one most often touted. Touted मतलब it is not confined to any domain, but military के बारे में बहुत बोला जाता है. It is the most often touted. Rather, it is the civilian sphere where the cyber threat is becoming more all-pervading today and in term a serious menace. All-pervading मतलब हर जगह पे फैल रहा है. All-pervasive, everywhere. It is beginning to have a cascading effect with questions being raised on how this would fit in with our belief in and the need for a well-regulated world order. So, author is talking about cascading effect it might have on world order as a whole. What is most unfortunate is that not enough attention is being bestowed on the all-encompassing nature of the cyber threat. All-encompassing, everywhere, every field, everywhere, everybody, it will affect everything. In the wake of Russia-Ukraine conflict, the world seems awash with papers on artificial intelligence driven military innovations and potential crisis hot zones, along with stray references to new forms of hybrid warfare. But there is very little about the threat posed by cyber attacks. Author is concerned about that. Author is saying everybody is talking about AI, about new conflict zones or possible hot pursuit areas, etc. But nobody is talking about cyber threat. Ignored also is the new reality of the weaponization of everything, which has entered the vocabulary of threats. Perhaps author will talk more about it in the upcoming sentence. The latter clearly demands a proto-revolutionary outlook on the part of policymakers, which is evidently lacking. तो author बोल रहा है कि है ही नहीं. Evidently मतलब evidence है उसका that policymakers does not seem to include this proto-revolutionary approach. Proto-revolutionary is almost revolutionary. Weaponization of everything means every little thing, that is every connected device is for a potential weapon. साइबर सिक्योरिटी की बात कर रहे हैं ना. Lost in translation is also the nature of today's weapon of choice, that is cyber. The lack of awareness is unfortunate at a time when states clearly lack the necessary resilience to face a variety of multi-vector threats. There are other threats, multi-vector threats, and state clearly lack the resilience to face them. So author is concerned about all these security threats, and author has stated from his side. The author's opinion is clear. Policymakers are not keen on this, or maybe they don't understand the serious threats, or there is lack of awareness, which is unfortunate. That author is saying. Question: which of the following options would author will disagree with most? A. Threat of cybersecurity has not remained confined to threat to critical infrastructure. Yes, true. Author has said this, that it is not just about critical infrastructure or military. It is an all-pervasive threat. Author ने बोला है, all-pervasive बोला है cyber threat को. It is not limited to critical infrastructure. That author has said. सबने का attempt किया है क्या? Attempt किया है? क्या आंसर है? Attempt नहीं किया. अच्छा. Second, discussion about future of wars is incomplete without discussion on future cyber warfare and weaponization of everything. True. We have cyber warfare has become crucial, and discussion of future of war needs this discussion. C. States and policymakers are taking substantial steps. However, lot more needs to be done. Author बोल रहा है ना, नहीं ले रहे कुछ steps. Author is saying that they are not taking any steps. No, substantial तो बहुत दूर की बात है. Right? Author is saying the approach, proto-revolutionary approach that is needed is evidently lacking. नहीं कर रहे कुछ. And D. Aftermath of Russia-Ukraine crisis has failed to brought into focus cyber security as much as it should have. That is true. That is also author is said. So answer is C. Next. अच्छा करो पढ़ो मतलब. 3 क्वेश्चन है क्या इस पे? कल के लिए बचे कुछ पैसेज फिर इसमें? एक ही है? 2 है? अच्छा 3 क्वेश्चन है। हाँ, natural selection cannot anticipate future environments on earth, right? Obviously, basically natural selection is response to environment, but it cannot anticipate what is about to come. Therefore, the set of existing organisms can never be fully prepared for environmental catastrophes that await life. So abhi ke jo organisms hai, organisms that are present today, they cannot really be prepared for what may come in the future, because nobody can anticipate. Not even natural selection can anticipate and get you prepared for future. An outcome of this is the extinction of those species which cannot overcome environmental adversity. Of course, species come and go, they come, they get extinct, new species may emerge, and that goes on. Survival of the fittest. This failure to survive in modern terms can be attributed to the genomes, which are unable to withstand geological vagaries or biological mishaps, infection, diseases, and so on. So, in modern terms, these have been attributed to genomes of the organisms which are unable to withstand the biological and geological vagaries. Okay. In biological evolution on the earth, extinction of species has been a major feature. Of course, the earth may presently have up to 10 million species, yet more than 90% of the species that ever lived on earth are now extinct, because there have been several episodes of mass extinction, at least 5, and 6th one they are saying is ongoing. Once again, the creationist doctrines fail to satisfactorily address why a divine creator will firstly bother to create millions of species and then allow them to perish. Author is perhaps in mocking terms, mocking the creationists. Creationist like बाइबल में बोला जाता है कि एडम एंड ईव आए और उनसे दुनिया स्टार्ट हुई ना, all those things. That there is some creator who created the earth. Author is not agreeing with the creationist doctrine. The Darwinian explanation of extinct life is once again simple, elegant, and at once convincing. Organisms go extinct as a function of environmental or biological assaults for which their inheritance deems them ill-equipped. So Darwinism, author is clearly impressed by Darwinism, and he's saying Darwinism is very elegant and convincing. So once an organism कहाँ पे गया? Species go extinct as a function of environmental or biological assaults. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. Species go extinct as a function of environmental or biological assaults for which their inheritance or genes deem them ill-equipped. So above also author was saying it is attributed to genomes which are unable to withstand environmental or geological stresses. Here also he is saying that if genomes deem you ill-equipped to deal with the changes or stresses, then you will be extinct. Therefore, the so-called Darwinian theory of evolution is not a theory at all. Evolution happens and this is a fact. So that is author's claim. Author is not ready to accept any challenge to evolution or Darwin's theory of evolution. He is saying that this is a fact, this is not a theory, this is a fact. The mechanism of evolution, Darwin proposed natural selection, is amply supported by scientific data. Indeed, to date, no single geological, botanical, geological, paleontological, genetic or physical evidence has refuted either of the central two main Darwinian ideas. So author is saying there have been no scientific counterclaims to the core of the Darwinian idea. If religion is not taken into consideration, Darwinian laws are acceptable just like the laws proposed by Copernicus, Galileo, Newton and Einstein. It says the natural laws that explain natural phenomena in the universe. ठीक है. First question. According to the passage, natural selection cannot anticipate future environments on the earth as why can natural selection not anticipate future environment? As species not fully prepared to face the environmental changes that await them will face extinction. Okay, all the existing species would get extinct as their genomes will not withstand the biological mishaps. It's an extreme statement, clearly an extreme statement. All species will not go extinct. Some of them might, most of them might, but some will remain. Some hardy species may remain even if you have extreme kind of conditions, no problem, right? All will not go extinct. So statement 2 is incorrect. You get automatic answer as C. Instability of genome to withstand environmental changes would result in extinction. Yes, that has been said. Extinction of a species is a common feature. Yes, it is very common. 90% of the species that ever existed have become extinct. Next, the passage suggests that Darwinian theory of evolution is not a theory at all because it does not satisfy creationist doctrine. No, that has nothing to do with what author was trying to say. Extinction is a function of environmental and biological assault. ये कैसे? Why is it not a theory at all? What did author say? It is not a theory at all. It is a fact. That is why it is not a theory. Author ने बोला ना? Author said here. Therefore, the Darwinian theory of evolution is not a theory at all. Evolution happens. This is a fact. That is why it is not a theory. There is not a single evidence to refute. That is the idea. See, there are no evidences to refute it. Yes. Last lines. There is no paleontological, geological, biological, botanical evidences against it. See. There are no evidences to refute it or against Darwinian theory. Nobody disputes core claims of Darwin's theory of evolution. ठीक है? So answer here is C. This is a PYQ. There is no dispute. Official answer is C. ठीक है? C. Official answer is C. Why is the author saying that it is not a theory at all? It is a fact. इसलिए बोल रहा है कि कोई evidence है ही नहीं उसके against. It is a fact. Darwin's theory is a fact. That is why it is not a theory. Next, with reference to the passage, following assumptions have been made. Assumption, something which the author has taken for granted, something which may be implicit, which need not be stated explicitly. A, first statement, only species that have ability to overcome environmental catastrophes will survive and perpetuate. Yes, those who do not will perish. They will get extinct. More than 90% of the species on earth are in danger of getting extinct due to drastic change in environment. अभी के बारे में कुछ बोल नहीं रहा ऑथर पैसेज में. Author is talking about Darwin's theory of evolution. Author is not talking about current climate change or current ongoing extinction. Second statement के बारे में कुछ बोला नहीं गया ऑथर ने. Third, Darwin's theory explains all the natural phenomena. This is such a stupid statement. Can Darwin's theory explain black holes? No. So answer would be simply A. Answer would be A. So ऊपर वाला ये वाला हाँ सेकंड स्टेटमेंट. तो स्टेटमेंट इज सेइंग कि अभी डेंजर में है. अभी का कुछ बोला ही नहीं है ना पैसेज ने. पैसेज में बोल रहा है कि डार्विन थ्योरी के बारे में बोल रहा है. वो हिस्टोरिकली 90% एक्सटिंक्ट हुए हैं वो बोल रहा है. लेकिन अभी क्लाइमेट चेंज हो रहा है ऐसा कुछ बोल रहा है नहीं. अभी कुछ चेंजेस हो रहे हैं इन्वायरमेंटल या फिर अभी स्पीसीज डेंजर में ऐसा कुछ बोल रहा है नहीं. ये 90% डेट वो भी कहां से लाए भाई? ऑथर ने तो कुछ बोला नहीं है 90% के बारे में। ऑथर has said हिस्टोरिकली 90% एक्सटिंक्ट हो चुके हैं, अभी के बारे में कुछ नहीं बोला ऑथर ने। एंड इस तीनों के ऑफिशियल आंसर्स आर लाइक वी हैव सेड। प्रैक्टिस से होगा यार, और कुछ क्वेश्चन गलत होंगे भी, क्या कुछ में कुछ तुम्हारा उतना वो है नहीं, कुछ क्वेश्चन तो गलत करोगे। ऑल 27 पैसेजेस अगर सही करके आओगे। थ्योरी नहीं है वो, कोई फैक्ट है वो, ऐसा बोलना चाह रहा है। थियरी कैन बी रिफ्यूटेड, थियरी कैन बी डिस्प्यूटेड, थियरी कैन, वन थियरी कैन रिप्लेस अनदर, फैक्ट को कोई चेंज नहीं कर सकता। नहीं नहीं नहीं, पूरे पैसेज को नहीं 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 यार, तुम इफ यू रीड द पैसेज एज अ होल ना, ऑथर वाज क्लियरली रेवरिंग डार्विन, मौकरी तो कर नहीं रहा था, मौकरी तो क्रिएशनिस्ट की ही कर रहा था वो। अच्छा नहीं नहीं, बट है ना पैसेज, यू हैव टू आंसर बेस्ड ऑन द पैसेज ना। अच्छा, anyway we'll meet tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll continue with our percentages, PYQs and start with blood relation.